He was found shivering in a cold, dark cellar, a small glass vial of poison clutched in his hand, his only escape from the horror waiting for him in the Roman arena. This was Sporus, just a teenager, once forced to be an empress, once married to the most powerful man on earth. Now he preferred a swift, silent death over the grotesque public spectacle the new emperor had designed for him. His execution was already scheduled, not a private end, but a brutal humiliation in the sand before a roaring crowd, a cruel reenactment meant to mock the memory of the fallen emperor Nero. For Sporus, death was a mercy compared to one final degrading performance. Because for years, he hadn't been allowed to be a person. He had been physically and psychologically remade into someone else. This isn't just a tale of imperial excess, it's the most extreme case of identity erasure in history, where an emperor didn't just steal a life, he attempted to resurrect a dead woman inside a living boy. To understand his choice in that cellar, we must go back 3 years, to the night Nero, in a fit of rage, killed the one person he truly loved and decided the rules of life and death no longer applied to him. Rome, 65 AD. The Empress Poppaea Sabina, pregnant with Nero's heir, lay dead on the marble floor. Some histories claim a single vicious kick to her stomach. Others whisper of a sustained, brutal assault. When the emperor realized what he had done, he screamed for his physicians, but not even his absolute power could reverse death. With Poppaea gone, something in Nero's mind shattered completely. This was not ordinary sorrow. When you command millions, grief feels like a personal insult, a limit you cannot accept. He refused to cremate her. Instead, he ordered her body preserved with mountains of rare spices, dressed in her finest silks, and sealed in a crystal coffin so he could continue to see her, to speak to her, to set a place for her at his table. The court watched as the emperor's sanity unraveled. He couldn't sleep without powerful sedatives. He woke up screaming her name. He began seeing her face everywhere, in servants, in noblewomen, in the faces of strangers dragged to the palace. He commissioned hundreds of portraits, but no artist could capture her perfectly. His rages grew more volatile. Then one day, everything shifted. A young freedman was presented to him for a routine appointment. Nero looked up and froze. The boy was perhaps 15. He had Poppaea's eyes. Not a passing similarity, but an uncanny duplication. The same large, dark-lashed eyes, the same delicate bone structure, the same way of holding his head. Scrolls tumbled from Nero's grasp as he stood. The court fell silent as the emperor circled the youth, touching his face, tilting his chin to the light, searching for the ghost in the boy's features. This wasn't anger. It was a terrifying, dawning obsession. "What is your name?" Nero whispered. "Sporus," the boy replied. And in that single moment, Sporus as an individual was erased. He became a project. For days, Sporus was kept in gilded rooms. Artists sketched him. Physicians measured every part of his body, noting discrepancies from the Empress's form. His own name was forbidden. Servants were commanded to call him "my lady." His male clothing was taken away, replaced with Poppaea's flowing feminine gowns. Cosmetics were applied daily to reshape his face. His voice was trained, higher, softer, more delicate. And then Nero made the irreversible decision. The doctors were called. The instruments were prepared. the physical transformation would begin. The night before the surgery, Nero visited Sporus alone. He brought a small box containing Poppeia's massive wedding ring, set with an emerald and pearls. He slid it onto the boy's finger. "Tomorrow, you will be reborn. You will finally be who you were meant to be, and I will love you as I loved her." "Will it hurt?" Sporus asked. For a heartbeat, something human flickered in Nero's gaze, then vanished. All birth involves pain, but the result is worth it. The procedure was long and brutal. The sounds that escaped the medical wing were unmistakable. Nero waited outside, not with worry, but with the eager anticipation of an artist about to unveil his masterpiece. Recovery took months, a haze of fever and pain. Through it all, Nero remained reciting Poppeia's favorite poetry, feeding him stories and memories that belonged to another. To all our viewers watching around the globe, we'd love to know which country you're joining us from today. Please drop a comment and let us know. The line between Sporus's reality and the fiction he was forced to inhabit began to blur. Once he could walk again, the training intensified. Tutors drilled him relentlessly on the dead Empress's mannerisms, her walk, her laugh, her opinions. He was dressed in perfect replicas of her clothing and jewelry. He was given her history to memorize. Any hesitation, any sign of his true self was met with cold disapproval. The prison was being built not just around his body, but inside his mind. 6 months later, Nero unveiled his creation at a private dinner. When Sporus entered, conversation died. In the soft lamplight, through the expertly applied makeup, the illusion was punishing. The courtiers, understanding the rules of this new reality, showered him with compliments, calling him Sabina. Nero beamed, introducing him as his beloved. But the illusion was fragile. Sometimes Sporus's true nature would surface, a sharp comment, a fleeting look of despair, and Nero would withdraw, his silence a terrifying punishment. He was an emperor's living ghost, haunted by the boy he used to be. The wedding was the final grotesque seal on the deception. In early 67 AD, Nero married Sporus in a full traditional ceremony. Sporus wore the bridal veil. Vows were exchanged. The feast was legendary in its opulence. An entire empire participated in the charade, too frightened to object. After the wedding, the performance became absolute. There were no moments of reprieve. Sporus woke each day in Poppeia's preserved chambers, dressed in her clothes, scented with her perfumes. He was expected not just to act like her, but to be her, in public and in private. Nero paraded him at the races and the theater, and the people of Rome stared, whispering but never speaking aloud. On a tour of Greece, the fiction was maintained, with local leaders honoring the Empress. In private, Nero demanded intimate reenactments of moments he had shared with Poppaea. The psychological toll was immense. Servants sometimes found Sporus standing motionless in the gardens at dawn, as if he had forgotten how to be without a script. Then the empire revolted. In 68 AD, the Senate turned, the guard abandoned him, and Nero was forced to flee Rome. Even in his final days, clutching Sporus, he begged them to die together as mythic lovers. When the time came for Nero to take his own life, his hand shook. It was Sporus who steadied the blade, guiding it, a final, merciful act in their tragic drama. With Nero dead, Sporus should have found freedom. Instead, he became a prize. He was passed from one emperor to the other. Galba ignored him. Otho, Poppaea's former husband, considered marrying him. Finally, he fell into the hands of Vitellus, a man with no patience for illusions. Vitellus' decree was simple and brutal. Sporus would perform in the Colosseum, not as an empress, but as a victim in a mythological rape and execution. It was to be the ultimate degradation. When Sporus learned his fate, a long-suppressed will resurfaced. He would not give them this final performance. He chose his own exit. The sources are unclear on the method, poison or a blade, but the meaning is crystal clear. In his last act, he reclaimed the only thing that had ever been truly his choice. In the end, his only freedom was his refusal. This story echoes as a stark warning. It wasn't just Nero's madness. It was the silence of the hundreds who enabled it. The doctors, the tutors, the courtiers, the priests. They all chose complicity over conscience, sacrificing a single human being for their own safety. The real Sporus is lost to us, his dreams and fears erased forever. But in that dark cellar, with a vial in his hand, he finally took back control. If you found this journey into one of history's darkest shadows compelling, please give this video a like and subscribe to Shadow of History for more profound tales from the past.